welcome to the Scottish Football Forums podcast. I thought last week's podcast went really well, so this week we've got the same lineup with Laurie, as usual, being co-host, and we're also joined by Greg. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hi, Greig. Hi, Laurie.
All right.
Never change a winning lineup. That's what they always say, isn't it?
That's it.
None of that squad rotation. None of that.
You can also go on the assumption that Derek Ray couldn't make it this week again. Which is why you're lumped with me again. So
yeah,
maybe next week we'll get him.
The recording is taking place on a Monday evening because our usual Sunday night slot was delayed, basically so I could spend the day in the pub watching the Old Firm and enjoying a few pints. So I thought we'd start off the first game that we'd take a look at was the Old Firm, Rangers versus Celtic. And, well, yesterday, I always like an Old Firm Sunday. Started the day with a big bowl of porridge to set me up, off to the pub, a few pints, watched the game. It was, well, as a Rangers fan, it was enjoyable, but I think that neutrals would agree that it was a very good advert for Scottish football. It's not often that you see a team go ahead, then go behind, and then come back to win in such a fashion. I think that Rangers came out the blocks very well in the first half, and until Celtic scored theirs, and they really bossed it for the rest of the second half, and I really feared for Rangers. McGregor will be gutted that he let in the long range. Was it what was the left back called?
El Kaduri.
I think maybe it was just a bit too easy a shot.
It was too easy.
No, I think it was.
I hate those shots where they're too easy, so you've got to let them in. Dreadful.
I think it's just maybe too easy for him because he didn't really have to move for it. It was just coming straight for him, and it was a case of maybe just taking his losing concentration, taking his eye off the ball.
Keepers always say those ones that are straight at you with no power, those are the difficult ones, you know.
Absolute howler. Get down there, get your body behind it. Doesn't matter if they've hit it from 20 yards at 70 miles an hour or from 12 yards at 2 miles an hour. Basic page one of the goalkeeper's manual, that, even though I've never played in goals, but that's what they tell me.
It was a dreadful error. I have to, one of those really bad ones. I just don't. It's very. I would say it's uncharacteristic, but I think McGregor does have like the occasional error in him. He more than makes up for it generally for Rangers. You know, I think as Naismith, Naismith said at the end, you know, he saves them enough times, so it was a nice change for them to get him out of jail rather than the other way around usually. So I think because of what precedes him and no doubt what will happen the rest of the season, he'll more than make up for that kind of error. But it is one of those that you kind of wonder how it happens. You know, it's the same when strikers miss bizarre chances, which another game yesterday was a good example of that with a certain expensive Spaniard.
So I thought that at half-time, I thought McCoy's half-time team talk must have been a belter because the Rangers came out in the second half and it seemed to be almost instantly.
Either that or Lennon's was just really bad.
Well, yeah, maybe, yeah. But Davis hit the bar pretty much straight away, and that really set the tone for the half. I think it was Jelavic. Was it he scored to make it 2 each?
How many pints did you had? Do you even know who scored?
Well,
it was Jelavic who scored the downward header to make it 2-2.
Yeah.
To be fair, didn't Lafferty score first? His disallowed one was that to make it 2 each, or was that to possibly go? I can't remember now.
3-2.
I might have been going with 3-2. Was it?
That was when Papach was the one that was offside, and well, it's debatable whether Lafferty was or not.
I think Lafferty was onside. It's one of those that the active inactive thing is quite difficult at times. I think it was a legitimate goal, no doubt about it, but I think people are quite harsh on linesmen at the time because all they'll be looking at is down a line and they'll see coloured shirts ahead or behind defenders, and I think it's very easy to see, oh, someone's ahead, and obviously the man offside was having no influence at all, but at times I've seen players classed as inactive, but I can see them drawing defenders out. And
Yep. Yep.
sometimes just because you don't touch the ball or it's not you who scores, it doesn't mean you're inactive. You know, often you see him stand in front of the keeper, and that's classed as being active. So if you make a run at the back post and you draw 2 defenders out, and then you're offside and they play it to the other player who runs through and scores and was onside, surely then that's active. In this case, no, it's not. It should have been a goal, no doubt about it. But I can see sometimes why linesmen, it can be hard to see who's active, who's inactive from away across the line. All they see is there's a line, who's in front, who's behind, and it can be difficult. But obviously, because of the fact that Rangers went on and won, and I think deservedly won, that sort of thing gets kind of brushed under the carpet a bit. No one kind of really worries about it. I think if it had ended 2-1 Celtic or it had ended 2-2, maybe wouldn't have been the case so much. But you're right, I think McCoist proved a lot of doubters wrong. We don't know what he said at half time, but I didn't get to see the game at the time. I was at work, so I was listening to it. It sounded reasonably even. It didn't sound like maybe Celtic deserved the lead at half time, but it kind of seemed quite a balanced match. In the second half, Celtic just seemed to capitulate and Rangers took control. And as you will remember from last week, I heavily backed Celtic, so I was certainly one who was proven wrong drastically by McCoist and Rangers in the second half. And I think overall you're right, it sounded like a very entertaining match. From the highlights, it looked like a very entertaining match and a good advert for Scottish football, bar the kind of horrific McGregor mistake. There was some very good quality goals. The first goal from Rangers, although Kelvin Wilson won't want to see it again, great finish by Naismith, who's started the season really well. The Celtic goal I thought was really well taken. I have to say Brown, who divides opinion, to say the least, among a lot of people, especially Celtic fans, I thought he was fantastic for that goal. It was almost reminded me a bit of the old Ronaldinho trick to not look where you're passing, and it's not an easy thing to do. You know, not to not look where you're passing and to be able to play it so accurately. And Hooper's finish, I thought, was really, really excellent. The way he curled it just around McGregor's kind of hands, it almost, at first, you kind of had to glance at it as, why did McGregor not save it? But when you saw the angle on the replay, it was just such a good finish. He just kind of placed it and managed to kind of bend it around his grasp into the corner. So a couple of good quality goals, and overall, I think the telling part of a derby, especially like an Old Firm derby, is afterwards. I think the reaction of a lot of people on the forum, the Celtic fans, I think most were kind of accepting and very kind of humble in defeat. And I think when the Celtic fans are coming out and saying we didn't deserve it today, Rangers were just a far better team, I think that really does speak kind of volumes for how well Rangers played, and I think they surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think like you guys are saying, first half for me was reasonably itchy peachy. Couple of smashing goals. I mean, the Hooper goal, as you already said, that's as good a goal I think as you'll see. Certainly in the next few months in the season, it's the ability to get that sort of movement in the ball without actually thumping it. Because like you, I thought he'd maybe slotted it past the post, but when you see it from behind the goals, there's a fair bit of movement on the ball as well. Second half though, I thought there was only one side in it. Rangers come out and I think from the get-go really took the game to Celtic, and just the sheer amount of possession and pressure that they had obviously paid dividends for them. I mean Celtic at the post second half as well, so if that one goes in, maybe changes the game slightly, but I think over the course of the 90 minutes, Rangers probably deserved their victory. I mean the sending off as well, you can have a wee look at that, but to be honest, I think the game was maybe gone by that stage as well. So I think it was one of these games for Rangers that, given all the off-field nonsense for the last few weeks, they really had to turn up and put a performance in, getting the 3 points as a bonus as well. But I think they were under quite a lot of pressure. And McCoist as well, being his first Old Firm game in charge, he's going to want to go off to win and start as well. So great victory for them against what is probably an informed Celtic team at the moment as well. Although I think for me that the Celtic midfield yesterday maybe didn't do enough in terms of going forward and attacking football. Scott Brown looks as though he's still maybe not 100% fit, although he played a great ball for the goal. So I think Lennon will be a wee bit concerned that he's maybe not got the attacking options in midfield that perhaps you would like to see in his side. But to be honest, the majority of their sides in the SPL, they're probably going to do enough to get past. But as we all know, it's sometimes these Old Firm games that make or break their season. So I think he might be looking elsewhere for some attacking options.
I've heard that from it was kind of my opinion. I was speaking to one of my friends who's a Celtic fan who was reiterating the same thing, saying that they've got a good plan A, Lennon, and it's all well and good. He kind of sets them out to play some decent football, and when it's working, I think they'll destroy a lot of teams in the SPL, and maybe more so than Rangers. The way they took apart your team, Motherwell. I think when we've played St Mirren at times, they played some really good stuff, and I think throughout the season, Celtic are going to put a lot of goals past a lot of teams, but he doesn't seem to have a plan B a lot of the time. If a team's mixing it up, or if it's Rangers they're playing where they're not going to get so much of the ball, he doesn't seem to have so many kind of options. And I've said last season when they were on a great run and they came to Tynecastle, they'd put 9 past Aberdeen a week before, and at the time, we won't play like that now, which will probably mean that we won't take anything off Celtic this season. By the time we had Jeffries, and we just kind of ruffled them up, got in about them, had Kyle up there, got him in about Mastorovic, and they just couldn't handle us at all. The whole game we just got right in, tight pitch, closed them down, didn't give them time on the ball, and suddenly they just looked like a completely different team. And it's happened a couple of times, in the Old Firm especially. And obviously it won't happen much, to be honest. That was Hearts playing at their best, as we saw last season. The next game at Tynecastle, Celtic completely took us apart, and it'll happen against most teams in the league. But as Greg just pointed out, the league is that sort of league that they'll get most points, and it's similar in maybe leagues like Spain as well, where Real Madrid they got beat this weekend, but generally will destroy everyone. But the problem is they'll lose the games to Barcelona, which are the ones that end up deciding the league. So yeah, the Old Firm can be decisive, although last season Celtic had the slight edge. So it's too early to kind of, I think, be pressing any panic buttons, but there's certainly seems to be, I think, maybe problems for Celtic in terms of the kind of the attitude and how Lennon can get these players kind of approaching these sort of games, because it's these games which could prove to win or lose the title, because generally there's not a lot in it these days come kind of May.
I think the sign of a good manager or a great manager is somebody that can change the formation or change their tactics midway through the game. And I might be touching this when we talk about the Motherwell game, but for me it sort of struck me. I don't know what options Lennon had on the bench yesterday, but certainly as the second half wore on, Rangers were getting more and more possession, and it looked as though unless something was going to change in terms of sort of tactical point of view, it looked as though the game was only going to go in one way, and that's how it ended up.
Well, he had on the bench, he had Commons, who, he's maybe not done so well this season, but last season, I think, especially for the time he was there, he seemed to be scoring a goal a game, and was the standout player for me.
There's a bit of controversy at the moment about Commons, because Lennon said after the game that he was injured. And Commons tweeted saying he was fit. He doesn't know why he wasn't picked. But he then went on and said, I'm going to work at getting back in. But there's a bit of sort of, Lennon's saying one thing, Commons is saying another. Lennon's saying he was injured, wasn't fit enough to be in the team. Commons is saying he was fit. He doesn't know why he wasn't picked. There's a lot of people on about he's carrying a bit of weight, because I know that some clubs, a lot of kind of top-end clubs are quite strict about kind of, fat to, how much fat you're carrying in terms of your body weight. And he maybe looks like, again, not fat in general average person terms, but in terms of a top athlete terms, he maybe is carrying a bit, which could be part why he's not in. I've not seen much of the season, to be honest. I've not watched a lot of full Celtic games, and when I have been watching them, he's not been on the park, so I couldn't comment myself, but that's just what I've been hearing from certain circles. That
I heard the rumour just last week or so from a guy who's a Celtic supporter, and they'd said that during the summer, Commons had spent quite a lot of time in the gym bulking up a wee bit, and it's possibly that which is adding to his overall bulk, which is maybe hitting his general match fitness, because he is carrying that wee bit more weight in terms of muscle mass. But I don't know whether that's the case or not. But certainly last season he was one of these guys that looked like, almost the first name in the team sheet